is up, my friends and family? I am Charmx, and today I'm going to be reacting to 5 mythical creatures that could still exist by Top 5s. Now, Top 5s make great videos, so make sure you go subscribe to them. The link's in the description. And as far as the mythical creatures that still exist, I'm assuming the Loch Ness Monster might be one of them. I'm not really sure. And other than that, I'm not really sure what to expect. But with that being said, the original link's in the description, and let's begin. Oh, a Pegasus?
Creature is a made-up creation that usually has supernatural powers and is far superior than any other animal. The talk of them has been around for thousands of years, appearing in stone paintings right up to current TV programs. Now, although by definition a mythical creature is nothing more than folklore with no proof of its existence, what if there was some truth behind a few of these legends? What if there could be some evidence to prove that they are not so mythical after all, but real-life creatures that may have or still roam the planet? Here are 5 mythical creatures where that could well be the case. As far back as the 12th century, stories of the legendary Kraken, the giant squid-like sea creature that terrorizes passing ships, has been passed around by communities and sailors. The legend is thought to have originated in and around the oceans in Norway, Iceland, and even as far as Greenland, and tells the tale of a huge beast that would hunt whales and attack passing vessels with its massive arms, or circle especially large ships until there was enough maelstrom to drag it down into the ocean, taking everyone on board with it. Like all legends, Kraken has been exaggerated over the years, and it's thought the first tale of a sighting dates back to the year 1180.
Is it just like a giant
At that
squid?
time, the giant squid, like many sea creatures, would not have been recognized by sailors, leading them to tell stories about a man-eating beast lurking in the depths of the sea. But in reality, the Kraken, if the old tales are true, would almost certainly have been some kind of possibly now extinct or undiscovered giant squid. And in 1853, something was found that would fit Kraken's description. A giant cephalopod washed up on a Danish beach, the first time such a beast had been seen and studied up close, and it was a close match to the Kraken tales that had been told for hundreds of years before. After heavy research, there is still much debate about how many species of giant squid there are, and exactly how large they can grow. But can they grow to the size of the legendary Kraken, as reported by so many sailors? When you think a sea creature like Megalodon or the Nothosaurus have existed, and the fact the largest squid that we have yet to discover was almost 43 feet or 13 meters in length, then many believe a man-eating squid the size of Kraken is entirely plausible. But there is more to back this up. In 2011, the fossilized bones of marine lizards were found.
Marine lizards?
In such a way that researchers claimed that only a giant Kraken-style octopus or squid could be responsible. Professor Mark McMenamin, an American paleontologist and professor of geology, who has been trying to prove the existence of the Kraken-sized squids, is convinced the strange arrangement of this Shonisaurus vertebrae, a sea reptile that lived 200 million years ago, was not a natural occurrence. And after examining the remains, he believes a much larger animal attacked it.
Okay, so this sounds quite plausible, and the fact that we've, filmed giant squids and that on camera, and, the Megalodon was a thing, why couldn't I wouldn't say a Kraken, but why couldn't a bigger giant squid be a thing? Let's say it's a colossal squid instead of a giant squid. So it would just be bigger, and, if it sees a boat up there, it might think it's food and try to take it down.
He discovered sucker marks on the bones and a snapped neck, and the collection of several bones in one place is consistent with the way a modern octopus would attract its prey to a lair before killing and eating it. The only difference is that this octopus or squid would have had to have been up to 30 meters long to have been able to kill and eat the giant marine lizard. Pretty interesting stuff when, like I said, the largest squid we have ever found was 13 meters in length. Kraken represents the legendary squid that the sailors would tell tales of, but it seems that the legend could certainly have some truth behind it, and the ocean could well have been or still is home to the giant Kraken squid. Mermaids. The mermaid or merman is a mythical creature that is half person and half fish, and although the thought of a human-like creature with a fish tail swimming around the ocean sounds very unlikely, the myth has been going on for literally thousands of years. It originated in around 1000 BC with the tale of a Syrian goddess who was supposedly turned into a mermaid after being thrown into a lake. And since then, mermaids have become increasingly popular, being used in movies, cartoons, the Starbucks logo, and even being worshipped by some religions.
Alright, so I'm not really sure if mermaids exist, but you think we would have seen them by now. However, we've only searched like 5% of the ocean, so I guess the other 95% could be hiding mermaids. I don't know if they exist, but, there's always a possibility. And I do know that some people are a little bit crazy about mermaids, and I don't think that's necessarily healthy.
When I put on a tail, I feel transformed. I feel like I'm starting to enter into, a different world when I hit the water.
With this, there is no surprise that there have been hundreds of sightings over the years. And although many can be put down to drunken sailors who see human-sized ocean creatures like manatees from a distance and think they are mermaids, there have been a few interesting sightings. Christopher Columbus, the Italian explorer, claimed to have seen mermaids near Haiti in 1493. Remarking that in the face they looked like men. Another explorer, Captain John Smith of Pocahontas' fame, is also said to have encountered a mermaid in 1614 while sailing off the coast at Newfoundland. He described the creature as having green hair with big eyes, who he found oddly attractive. That was until he apparently realized she was a fish from the waist down. In 1943, during World War II, several mermaids were apparently spotted by Japanese soldiers on the shores of the Key Islands in Indonesia. The story tells of a Japanese sergeant who went to investigate a dead mermaid and confirmed that it was real. He tried getting scientists to go and study it, but since they did not believe him, nothing more became of it, and no mermaid bodies were ever recovered.
Why wouldn't you bring the friggin' body with you to the scientists? Like, if I saw a mermaid that was dead, you could take pictures of it, but people can just say, hey, he just made that up. But when you take the body with you, there's a little bit more evidence that you have to back up your claims that it's a real mermaid.
There is also a story from 1830 that claims a young boy in Scotland spotted a child with a salmon's tail. He was so frightened by it that he threw rocks at the creature and killed it. It's said that villagers buried the creature in a coffin in the local churchyard, but stories like this lose credibility when over the years many hoaxers and showmen have profited from the mermaid legend, asking people to pay to view a real-life mermaid that in reality is just a showwoman dressed up with a fake tail. Even P.T. Barnum, the famous showman, tried cashing in on the public's fascination with mermaids. He displayed what he called Fiji Mermaid and charged people 50 cents to view it. It turned out to be a fake body with the torso, head, and limbs of a dead monkey.
Okay, I've actually seen that in a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum. It's very creepy, to say the least.
And the bottom half of a fish. In 2012, a TV special called Mermaids: The Body Found presented a fictional documentary-style account of how scientists had found proof of mermaids' existence. The program convinced many viewers that the footage and research they showed was real, and a statement had to be issued by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration denying the existence of mermaids. But just how likely are they to be real?
Why would they make the freaking video then?
In the ocean, is a human-looking creature with a fish tail really that far-fetched? What do you think? It seems more people believe in mermaids now than ever before. So do you think they are just made up, or do you think there could be some truth behind them?
As I said before, I don't know if they exist. They could, but personally, I don't believe they do, just because I would have think we would have noticed them by now, judging from the amount of people that are in the world. But either way, the myth itself is pretty cool.
The Loch Ness Monster. Loch Ness is a vast...
Hey, I knew it! I knew this would be on here.
So vast in fact that it holds more water than all the lakes and rivers in England and Wales combined. It's also 800 feet deep in some places and has poor underwater visibility due to high levels of peat in the water. An interesting side note is that at the bottom of the loch there are two radioactive layers of sediment, one of these caused by the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Anyway, as you will know, the Loch Ness is most famous for the monster that is thought to live there. And alongside Bigfoot, I would say the Loch Ness Monster is one of the most famous unconfirmed creatures out there.
Yeah, I would say it is.
The earliest association with the monster in the loch appeared in a manuscript written in the 7th century by Adamnam, in which he tells of a man who was swimming in the lake and was attacked by a water beast. Over the years, there have been several other reports of something living in the darkest depths of the water.
It looks like a shark or something.
It was in 1933 that the monster really caught the imagination of the public. It was when this photograph was taken by Hugh Gray. Then in 1934, London physician Robert Wilson captured the most famous Nessie picture of all time.
Wasn't this one exposed as being fake? I believe I heard of that.
Despite this photograph being debunked some years later, the fascination of the Loch Ness Monster hasn't stopped, and around 1 million people visit the lake each year in search of it,
generating
an estimated £25 million for the local economy. So is there a monster lurking in the loch, or is there another explanation for some of the sightings? Could they be other sea creatures that are being mistaken for Nessie? A lake sturgeon does match reports of the Loch Ness Monster, and some say a giant eel could also be responsible. And despite these usually favouring saltwater, 2 7-foot eels were found washed up on Loch Ness Beach.
7 feet.
Another
wow.
theory is that driftwood bobbing to the surface, or illusions caused by the seismic activity underneath the Loch Ness that releases gas bubbles causing a reaction on the water surface, could be mistaken for the monster, but who knows? There is no doubting an animal of Nessie's characteristics could exist. Take the now extinct plesiosaur for instance. So even if the Loch Ness Monster doesn't currently exist, history has shown that it's entirely possible.
That's actually crazy. Was it, he said like 1 million people visit there a year, which obviously helps out their economy a shit ton. So I guess even if the Loch Ness Monster doesn't exist, they kind of want to keep pushing that it kind of does exist, or that there's a lot of mystery surrounding it, just to keep bringing in people, because that is a shit ton of tourism.
Dragons. They are commonplace all over the world, on flags, signposts, pubs, and are displayed in many different cultures. In Europe, the dragon appears as a fierce-looking creature, often with wings and legs, whereas the East Asian countries see the dragon more as a snake-like creature, colourful and majestic, with a strong association to their emperor.
Looks pretty
badass. The Chinese
badass.
dragon is in fact the highest-ranking animal in the Chinese hierarchy, and is the only mythical creature to feature in the Chinese calendar. Then there are tales of brave knights battling with ferocious dragons, and even a day called St. George's Day, celebrated throughout the world, named after St. George, a Christian martyr who bravely slayed the dragon. So where did all of this originate from? Did dragons once exist, and how can so many different cultures have myths of the same looking creature? Even the Bible has a reference to a dragon, comparing the devil to one. So if not from a religious standpoint, how can you explain the writer of the Bible's mention of the dragon, in a book written thousands of years ago?
Well, I mean, if dinosaurs existed, a dragon is kind of like the flying version of that, right? So I don't see why it couldn't have existed.
Creation scientists' belief is that humans would have lived amongst dragons, and our contact with them before their extinction has been passed down over the years. Another theory is that dinosaurs are responsible. Perhaps ancient civilizations stumbled across fossils and bones of a few long-extinct dinosaurs and pieced them together, creating a dragon. It's plausible,
that's also possible,
especially when you find out that there are 2,000-year-old references to dragon bones in Sichuan, China. Maybe people created the image of a dragon that way, and it stuck. Another theory is that dragons were an early relative
that's
to
a cool
current animals
snake.
like the dragon snake or flying dragon, but went extinct at the time of the dinosaurs. But there's very little information to back this up, so we may never know if dragons did once exist. But there's no denying they will continue to capture the public's imagination, be it children's films, programs like Game of Thrones, or video games. And I for one would be lying if I didn't want there to be an undiscovered island populated by them.
So yeah, I think they probably could have existed. I mean, dinosaurs existed, and that's pretty awesome. And I know they had flying dinosaurs, so I guess it could have just been another flying dinosaur that's a dragon? Maybe? I don't know. I think it's probably possible that they could have existed. But yeah, let's continue.
Many mythical creatures, this next one is a fairly modern one. It started in 1995 in Puerto Rico, when 8 perfectly healthy sheep were found dead at a farm.
Oh, I think I've heard of this myth.
Nearly 1,000 mysterious animal deaths have been reported in the area of Canovanas. They all reported the dead animals had puncture wounds and all the blood had been drained from their bodies.
Wasn't a Futurama episode based off of this?
But since it seemed to favour killing goats, they called it chupacabra, Spanish for goat sucker.
No.
Before long, the chupacabra was apparently being spotted and was described as a thick-set creature with long claws, around the size of a small bear, with some saying it had a row of spines from its neck to the end of its tail. For 5 years, there were regular reports of the same unusual attack on animals, but now it was not just in Puerto Rico, but also in Mexico, Chile, Nicaragua, Argentina, and Florida. Many interesting pictures and videos started to surface, but one of the most compelling pieces was by Mrs. Canyon, who lived on a ranch in Texas, that she said was being targeted by the chupacabra, as many of her chickens were being killed and drained entirely of blood. It was in 2007 when she found an unknown creature on the side of the road not far from her ranch. She froze its head for research purposes, and it was thought to have been the first real proof of a chupacabra.
Okay, is it me or does that look like a dog that has no hair on it? Like, you know, like a hairless cat, but the dog version?
Tests were done, and although they were not 100% on what exactly it was, The test showed that it was likely a coyote and Mexican wolf mix, but Canyon is
look
confident
at
it's a
the cute.
chupacabra and that it's responsible for killing her chickens. It's clear that something has been killing animals and seemingly draining their blood, so what could it be? Some say it was a top-secret US government genetics test gone wrong, producing this out-of-control mutant breed, but scientists studied many dead animal carcasses and were convinced they had been attacked by dogs, coyotes, or raccoons that had been infected with a disease such as mangy that caused hair loss and an unusual appearance.
So as far as the government creating this chupacabra, I guess it could be possible because I do know of Plum Island, which houses the Animal Disease Center or something like that, and I think they've do genetic testing or something like that over there. I'm not sure, but I have heard a lot of stories based around Plum Island and that they mess around with animals and stuff. So I guess they could have created some kind of creature. I don't know. That's just speculation. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments regarding all of this. I personally think it's very interesting and that a lot of these are possible to have existed and or that they might still exist. But either way, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, possibly share with a friend. If you do, make sure you subscribe and join the family today. And also make sure you go subscribe to Top 5s, links in the description. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Boop!